Jigglypuff, who is fine. Don't worry about their face. They're fine. Hi everyone, I'm Asher, they, them pronouns. Welcome to my art vlog. This one's just going to be going over a sketchbook challenge that I decided to do for myself to get myself back into drawing, which was somewhat successful. And also kind of an update on the Storybook Project that I talked about in my last video. So hope you stick around and enjoy that, and I'll transition something. I'm still figuring this video stuff out. Anyway, video! Woo! Alright, so before we actually look at the sketchbook, let's just look at the materials that I was using. So one of the things I wanted to do with this kind of sketching challenge is I wanted to make sure to avoid erasing things. So I actually didn't really use any pencils in this. I think the only pencil that I used and might have done a little bit of erasing with is this guy, which is a non-photo blue pencil. Really good if you're ever going to scan things in because it will disappear under the scanner. But I only used that on one picture. So other than that, I was using a lot of permanent material. My purple pen here was a big favorite of mine just because the ink flows really nicely. What is this? It's just a Inkjoy Papermate, and I really want to get more of these guys. I also have a black Uniball that I used a lot. I finally started learning how to use this white pen, and it's amazing. I'm looking forward to showing which spots I used that on. Highlighter, I've got some Copic markers, and I've got some just basic Crayola colored pencils. If there is a squeaking sound, that's just my dog playing with his toys because he wants me to pay attention to him. But that's what I got. I guess I do have some of these micron pens as well, but I didn't use them very much. Just pretty much the first drawing I did, and that's basically it. Maybe a couple more here and there. For the sketchbook, it's nothing special. It's just something that I got pretty cheap at Joann's while scouring whatever was left in the store as people are buying it up because it's closing, because we do not live in a just world. So let's just get to it. So one of the things I wanted to do with the sketchbook is I just wanted to challenge myself to try drawing as much as possible while on spring break. I did start a little bit early because I left in the middle of the school week right before spring break to go on a trip to Oregon. So it is a little more than a week in here, but that's okay. I just wanted to draw as much as possible and try to get myself back into the practice of drawing without worrying too much about perfectionism, which is honestly one of my worst enemies in the world. Something I always do with a sketchbook when I get started though is the first thing I do is a self-portrait. So in this one, the first thing I did was this colored piece. I was just kind of testing out how the markers work in the sketchbook because the paper is pretty thin, and we'll see that it bleeds through pretty badly, but I decided to work with that anyway. Like I said, I was kind of testing out the markers. This is how I discovered that my, mahogany is totally dry, and that's where we got these like blotchy red spots as I was trying to get the colors. The shading is a bit overdone, but that's okay. This was still kind of a fun project, and this was my first time trying to do the coloring and the markers first, and then doing the line art. And this is the one that I used some of those gray microns on. As for the little doodles around, these are all stuff that I just did throughout the trip when I felt like I needed a little more of a warm-up before I could start a new drawing. So, you know. And like I said, this is, you can see that the bleed is pretty bad with the Copics, but that is fine. I did decide to kind of redo it with my black Uniball here and see how it came out, which I do kind of like it. The whole redrawing with the bleed through trick is something that I picked up from actually Rhea, who was a big inspiration for this project after her 3-week sketchbook tour. So I will make sure to put a link in the description to that. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of tricks from Rhea that I kind of pulled for this project and for inspiration. Another person who gave me a lot of inspiration is Sketches of Shay, who I've been watching a lot of. And then this is some doodles of, how do I put it? Yeah, I drew this one first. There we go. Sorry. Then I drew this one, and again, I was trying to play with the markers and try to do shape and then do lines. Both of these are for the storybook project I was doing for my comics book class that ended up not happening. I'm of course still in the class, but I had to scrap this entire idea and start over from scratch. We'll get to that in a minute. But this is what my previous video was about, was kind of doing some character designs for this project, and the only one I really came up with was the Little Huntress character, but the story just wasn't coming together. I wanted to do a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, but with a trans narrative twist to it, so where the Beast is actually trans and ends up turning into a girl afterwards. And she is so cute. I love her hair. And this is actually one of those parts where you can see that white pen that I used, this guy, on the highlights in her hair, the whites of her, the little highlights of her eyes, because I just colored that in, her teeth there. And then I did the same thing with his eyes. And I don't think I added anything to the original. Oh, I guess that little white line there. I think that is the white ink pen. But so cool. I love it so much. But like I said, the story just wasn't coming out. The project is to write and make a little picture book with 8 pages plus a cover and a back, and I just could not fit the nuances that I wanted for the story into that framework. So I had to scrap it, and I lost a week and then some of time for this project that is supposed to take 2 weeks, and I've been squeezing it into 3 days, but it's fine. It's been coming out. So yeah, I did this one first, and then I did the same thing from this side where I just used the bleed to draw something new. I added the little dots here, which I actually think is super cute because with the bleed, some parts just came out darker than others, and I was like, how can I play with that? Yeah, like I said, one of the things with this is that since it was kind of a trans narrative, I did try to keep with the trans flag colors and their color layout, which I think looks pretty cute. Lots of bleed. I was still trying to work with this idea, and one of the things I was struggling with was designing the king/wizard, who is the one that curses the prince/princess. So I was just trying to design them. This guy, I was pulling some inspiration from The Little Mermaid with King Triton, which is where we get this big bushy beard, but I didn't quite like that, and then I switched over to something that looks a little younger, maybe a little more, what's the word? A little more wizard-ish with the beard. And I liked that a little more, but then I was like, we gotta make sure that they're kind of the same size, so I actually used the bleed from the prince to draw the king and try to make him the same general size. Then it kind of worked. I'm not sure. But this is where I really had a breakthrough for that project. This was, I think, on Tuesday of last week. No, the week before. No, last week. It doesn't matter. But we were in class for comics, and we were supposed to be working on this story, and I could not work on it. I couldn't figure out how I wanted to write the story, and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, and I was just so stuck. And I remember just feeling really, really dumb and really overwhelmed as everybody else around me is working, and some of them were even starting to ink, and I hadn't even started my blue lines yet. And I was like, wow, I'm gonna fail this project. I suck so much. Okay, don't have a breakdown in the middle of class. That would probably be good. And I ended up just leaving the class early and then crying for like an hour afterwards and being pretty emotionally sore for the rest of the day. I just felt awful. But on the ride home, I started drawing this little character while I was on the bus. I realized I should probably move my teacup so that it's not blocking the light. Okay. But I started drawing this little character, just kind of wanting to do something that was reflecting how I was feeling. Something that I was really focusing on was these big, kind of scraggly spiral eyes that looked just a little bit creepy, is what I was going for. And I really like this one where she's just in an action and she's looking around. And it was from her that I was finally able to come up with, to scrap the project and start over from scratch. And it was from her that I was able to make the storybook, which I will actually show later. At least what I have at the moment. I think I missed a page. There we go. And then I started drawing Caterpies when I was on the plane going to Oregon. What's so funny is that I'm pretty sure that I feel like this first one that I drew looks the most like Caterpie, even though I gave them too many legs. Caterpie only has 4 little legs, but something about the face just looks so Caterpie-like that gets lost in the rest of them, even though he's really chunky. Yeah, and I just drew a bunch of little Caterpies. Caterpie is one of my favorite Pokemon, and I love them, and they're so cute. I did color these with my colored pencils, which was so fun. Also, while I was on the plane, I just did some doodles with my purple pen here. This isn't any specific character, I just wanted to kind of do like a kind of a character page, so I did this. I was really trying to focus on getting the idea of a person across, of something that they're into, of kind of their personality a little bit and their fashion choices. So I enjoyed doing that. I really like this one here, where it's them just sobbing as they're watching Titanic. Such a mood. At this point, I was in Portland, and one of the reasons I was there was to volunteer for a board game convention. I do it every year, and I did not get a lot of drawing done during this time. So I got a hexagons as bestigons. Obviously, it's true. I tried to incorporate hexagons into their iris and to their eye shine. I did lie a little bit though, because I did do this one on the plane. Kind of the problem of trying to keep things in track is that I kept bouncing around throughout the sketchbook and drawing in different places. This was the only spot, I think, that I used the pencil and kind of did more planning than just doodling things out with a pen or whatnot. It's a character from a story that my partner is writing and posting on AO3. I will not share, because that is their own thing. But she's kind of a soldier type character, hence why she looks just exhausted. And I did not know how to pose her hands, so that's just how that turned out. And then my Ash Ketchum days. I spent a lot of the con trying to draw Ash. I started on trying to draw him from memory. I was struggling with his hat so much. We got another Caterpie though, and that one's cute. This is another one where I used the white pen, and I used it to draw the shines and then the little markings on his side, which are pretty cute. Yeah, I think I drew this one first, and I was like, man, that hat isn't working. Then I drew this one, the hat looks a little bit better. And then I tried without the hat, and I was like, wow, his hair is just all over the place. And then I did this one, and we can see by the stars that this one looks a lot better. Then I think I went over here and I did this one. And again, it looks a little bit better, but I think his head is too small compared to his body. Then I did this one, and this one's really cute. I like this one a lot. Pikachu looks a little weird, but that's okay. And then I was like, man, this isn't working. I need to study some hats. So I came back over here and just did a couple quick hat studies using some pictures on Google for reference. Just being like, man, we got to figure out this hat situation. Came back over here and did some more Ash drawings, and I do think his hat looks better. There's still a couple spots where it's like, that could probably use a little bit more work, but that's okay. We have improved. I do think this one probably looks the most like Ash. And then I did this guy, where I did the markers first, and then I did line work. And this was actually quite a bit of fun working on, and I only have so many colors, which is why the palette's pretty limited, but you can still totally tell it's Ash. And this is another one where I used that white pen for the shines in his eyes and a little bit of his hair, and that's how I did the dot on the Pokeball and the shine. But it looks pretty good. Pretty heavy bleed again. I did another just re-inking. Did some more Caterpies. I tried to do Ralts from memory, and I was like, nope, that ain't it. Which is fine. I could not remember how many like little discs they have, but that's okay. At this point we were going on a long drive, and in Oregon in the spring, one of the things we're known for is that daffodils will bloom, and we're also known for ducks. So I was like, ooh, I wonder if I can make some daffodils. So that's what these guys are. It kind of reminds me of Alice in Wonderland. I'm pretty sure there's some characters in there who look kind of like this. On that same drive, I did this, which was just a study of one of the pages from the first chapter of Tokyo Ghoul by Sui Ishida. One of the things I brought with me was this book of a Viz manga sampler from 2015. I actually have a couple samplers. I think they're a really cool thing to buy at used bookstores because you get them for pretty cheap and you get a pretty wide selection and variety of different artists and different art styles, which I think is very cool, especially if you're like me and you want to learn how to make comics, and studying other people is a good way to do that. So I was partially trying to mimic the art style, but I was also partially trying to find a medium in between. So I did change her hand. I just felt like where her hand was before felt awkward because of where it got cut off with the gutter here. I also just tried to make her look a little softer because in the original, I feel like her pose is kind of stiff, and I don't hold this against Ishida at all. I know mangaka is really, being a mangaka is really hard, and you're on such a tight deadline that you just have to go. You just have to do what you can and go with it. I also used the white pen to do the marks on his coat. And then I started playing with the highlighter. This is a trick that I pulled up from actually Rhea, where you do the highlighter to kind of get the shapes down first, and then maybe you go over again with some line work. So I just did a bunch of kind of wolf shapes, trying to do a little bit of an anthro look. I got a new book called Eat by Nagabe, and I love Nagabe so much. I love Nagabe's artwork so much. I don't care what their book is about. I will buy it. Most people will probably know them as the artist for The Girl from the Other Side, but I've been a fan of them since their first publication, at least that got distributed over here to the US. And so I was kind of inspired by them and wanted to do a little bit of like some furry art. I really like this one. I like his little smile. And I did some more studies. At this point, we were on the plane coming back home. And I started with this one. This is another thing I used this guy for because it has some of the first chapter of Maid Sama in here. So I just went through what was available of that chapter and did some studies of the characters' faces, starting with the main character. I don't actually know her name. I have not read this manga. But the art style is very shoujo. They have such big eyes, and her hair is so unruly. I find it kind of funny when characters who are supposed to be so strict and diligent, like this character, has hair that falls into their eyes. It's charming and cute, but also just kind of unrealistic. But that's okay. She is also just so angry throughout so much of the chapter, which I don't draw very often, and it was kind of fun to do. I did enjoy doing the maid outfit here. And then I went back and tried to do the love interest. I particularly liked his little more, I don't know, chibi expressions and poses. And then I tried to do this guy where it did not turn out. He just looks cross-eyed. I think his eyes are too big and his nose is in the wrong spot. And I was like, I'm not gonna let it beat me. So I tried doing it again, and it didn't work out this time either. And then I just decided to flip it and do it again from this angle, and I was like, oh, that looks way better. And so I did it again, and from the other angle again, from the original angle, and it still doesn't look good. So I just think that I just could not manage to get it correct from the side that it was supposed to be. I did also redraw the first one I did because his hair is all over the place, and I wanted to fix that. So a little bit of a redraw there. These pages I both did on the plane, and honestly, they were a lot of fun. I actually really like how this one came out. Some dandelions and a dandelion. These ones I did just with the Copic markers, and I actually really like how it came out. I think they're very pretty. I like the touch of pink on the yellow edges. And by this point I was back home, so I did this on the 26th, so that was just the other day. This was another one where I just did highlighters first to kind of get the shape of what I wanted to draw, and then I went in with the ink work with my Uniball. I kind of just felt like trying to draw cute sexy cat girls in swimwear. I don't draw swimwear very often, so this was kind of a fun little challenge for me. But they're cute at least. And this was my last thing I drew, which I think I just drew last night, which is just some really derpy looking Sonics. I drew them while watching one of Hazel's videos on Sonic Adventure. I love Hazel. They're one of my favorite YouTubers, and I listen to their stuff all the time. And since she released a new video yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before, I ended up watching just a bunch of her stuff yesterday and was slightly inspired by Sonic. But that's as much as I got done. I don't feel like there's a lot of pages here, but I do like the work that I did. But coming back to the Storybook Project, because my last video was kind of about that, so I wanted to return to it and kind of give a refresher on what happened, on where I am with that. So again, this girly really, really inspired me, and I wanted to make something about her. So that's what my story ended up being about. We're gonna set that aside and grab what I have. So here's what I got of the story so far. They are just going to get scanned and then reprinted in order. So we were told to do the front, the cover, and the back together, and then do all the pages in sequential order. So this is what I've got done so far. I've done all of the watercolors that I want to do, and the ink washes, which you'll see next. So these are all just watercolors. I really love my tiny town over here. It is so cute. I don't work with watercolors ever, so this was kind of new for me. But yeah, it's called The Girl Who Lost Her Mouth, and it is a little bit of a dark story where she gets upset at herself for yelling at her friend, and she literally cuts her mouth off with a pair of scissors, throws it away, and the next day she realizes that she needs it, so she goes and tries to find it. So yeah, that's what my story ended up being about. Well, I won't read it, but we'll just kind of go through the pages. As you can see, I've got the ink wash done, and today I'm actually going to be going through and inking the line work, and I'm really nervous because I don't want it to ruin my tiny town on this page. I don't know if I'll do the inking on the front and the back, but we got these guys, and then here, which I actually really like this page where I have her searching throughout her house trying to find her mouth, and then she leaves. And you can see I reused that drawing I did of her looking under a rock, which again was just a really good picture of her, so I wanted to reuse it. We get to the end, and then on the last page I decided to do it in color because it does kind of have a happy ending, so I wanted to kind of reflect her emotions throughout the story, which is why I chose just to do a plain ink wash for most of it and then switch to color at the very end when her and her friend make up. One last thing that I wanted to share, just because I love them, is some of the stuff that I got on my trip. So this was at, I believe it's called Cloud Cap, again, over in Portland, Oregon. And these are just little postcards, but I just love the artwork on it. This was the one that caught my eye. It's from Whisper of the Heart, and it's such a beautiful image. Then we've got Princess Mononoke that my partner picked out. It is their favorite movie. And this is the other one that I grabbed. It's from Tales of Earthsea, and this is literally my favorite shot in this movie. I love this shot so much. I love the spanning city and the colors. It's just gorgeous. It's just such a good one. I know that a lot of people don't really like Tales of Earthsea, but I like it. I know it's messy, but I actually find that messiness to be rather charming. And the original author of the books also liked it, so I think it's okay. And one from My Neighbor Totoro, because we needed to grab one more to be able to pay for it with cards. And admittedly, this one is beautiful as well, but I kind of wish I would have grabbed, there was one of people picking saffron from the movie Only Yesterday that is also just breathtaking, and I kind of wish I would have grabbed that one, but that's okay. And my little guys! Oh my gosh. So first of all, Squid Kitty! I love it. I love them so much. I used to have a green one called Takoneko, and I don't know what happened to it. And I'm actually very sad that I don't know what happened to it. But I got this guy, and their name is going to be Takoyaki because of their stripes. And I love them. They are very good Squid Kitty. And the other thing I got are my derpy little Pokemon. So I'll put up a little video of my already existing collection of silly off-brand Pokemon things. I've been collecting these for years. I have some very silly ones. But here are my new guys. We've got a Marshtomp who's just perpetually yelling. And then we've got a Silcoon, who honestly looks fine. The Silcoons are, I think, pretty difficult to make incorrectly. They're pretty simple, but I love Silcoon. And then we've got our, what is it, Igglypuff, who is fine. Don't worry about their face. They're fine. And that's what I got. So I'm going to close it there. I have a feeling it got a little too long again, but that is okay. I will see you all next week, and I hope you have a great day. Bye! Boop. Hi, bud. Brit! You wanna come say hi? Oh, you're so cute. I forgive you for interrupting my video with your squeaking. Yeah, it's okay. I'm done. We can play now.